Good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful day. I'm so excited to be here. And today is April 24th, 2021. And this is Susie's. What the heck? Susie. Okay. This is Sissy's, Unci's, and Auntie's. And I am Avril Cordova, and this is...
Hello, I am Jennifer Varenchek.
Good morning, everybody. We have this monthly event that we conduct, and it is just a time for us to gather, to talk, to have fun, to be able to conversate. So this is why we're here, and this was originated through myself, Jen, and Justine Medina. Justine couldn't be with us today, but that's okay. We're still gonna power through it and have a great time. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here. We're gonna go ahead and I'll properly introduce myself, and then I'll turn it over to the amazing, the beautiful, the intelligent screenwriter, producer, actor, filmmaker extraordinaire. Okay, so let me introduce myself. Hioho Mitakiape, Avril Cordova Machiape, Malakota and Taos Pueblo. Good morning, everybody. My name is Avril Cordova. I am Taos Pueblo in Oglala, Lakota. I am the owner-operator of AC and Associates. My tama is Joseph Conquilla Cordova. My Ina, or my Ka, is Patricia Crow Cordova. I'm the sixth generation from Chief Red Cloud, and that's who makes me who I am. I'm Avril Cordova. I'm Taos Pueblo, enrolled Taos Pueblo member on my father's side, Oglala Lakota on my mother's side. I'm sixth generation from Chief Red Cloud, and I'm excited to be here. So we're going to go ahead and turn it over to the amazing, the beautiful, the extraordinary Jennifer V. Boop, boop,
boo. Skugsiatic, Aninipchik, Jennifer Varenchek. Hello, everybody. My name is Jennifer Varenchek, and I am coming to you from the occupied kingdom of Hawaii on the island of Oahu. And I live in Kahalu, and it's just great to be here, to be up, to be alive, and to be starting our weekend, because for me, where I am in Hawaii, it is 10:42 a.m. So for me, it's just beginning. The weekend is just beginning, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you and to see what's going to happen, because we never know what's going to happen when we sit down to plan these things, and we just kind of come up with some ideas, and then we release it. And who knows what comes back. So I'm excited to see how our show goes. Thank you, Avril. Back to you in the studio. Oh, no, not back to you. Oh, yes, back to you. Okay. You're on mute.
Okay, so thanks, guys, for watching. It's very true. You don't ever know what's going to happen on a live. And it's live. It's live. And sometimes that's scary. And a lot of the times when I'm ready to hit that live button, it's scary. It's a scary feeling. So here we are, just putting ourselves out there. And this was an idea, like I said, from all three of us. And I'm just excited to be here, to be able to meet with my friends, to be able to hang out, to be able to talk. I don't know if you guys all are having a beautiful day, but we are, and we want to know where you're from, where you're checking in, who are you? It is called Unci's Sisters and Aunties, but we should get some uncles on here, or some grandpas, or some brothers, and do like a show with a male perspective as well for one of the episodes. or something,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
See how these ideas, they just flow, you know? And they flow like my beatbox because I'm a rapper and I can get down and just kidding. I need to stop. See?
Because someone's gonna ask you to do that, and then you're gonna be like,
Go ahead. Go ahead. I have a song. I have a song.
Okay, Avril, can you give us a beat?
Sure. That's my my choo choo train. You know how it starts? I'll
Okay.
do the Paku song. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah, you can do whatever you want. It's your show.
Okay. Dream team back again. Check it, the record. Let's begin. Party on, party people. Let me hear some noise. AC's in the house code. Jump for joy. There's a res over there. A res over there. Wave your hands in the air. Shake your gourd in the air. Paku wellness. Paku wellness. Paku wellness. Chicka chicka chicka. See?
Yay! That was awesome. I wish I had a sound effect.
Boo, boo,
Oh,
boo.
I have one. Let me go get it. Hold on.
Okay. I have a sound effect as well. I actually have a sound effect box maker. I don't know if it's called a box maker, but I have one, and I also have a mic, and I've been having issues like connecting them, and I keep saying that I'm going to get in touch with different people. Like one of the people that I want to get in touch with is Stefan. Stefan, shout out if you're out there listening to this. I need to get in contact with you. But if anybody else has any friends that are like techs that can help me out, because I have like a whole mini recording. Look, I have this, and it doesn't. I don't know how to work it. So it just sits here like a trophy on my desk. But I need to know how to connect it.
It's not, so you're not using that microphone right now?
Mm-mm. This is just the microphone from my earphones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see. I see.
Right
Well,
now. Mm-mm.
I am trying to figure out how to share us. Oh, here we go.
Turn it down though, because then there'll be some feedback.
Yeah. Oh wait, I don't want to share it as AC input. Okay. Well.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do what you got to do, girlfriend.
Okay, I will.
And okay, and I am going to just tell you a little bit about who I am and what I do, and then we'll go back to Jen. Okay, everybody, thanks for watching. First of all, good morning. Good morning, Indian country. That song reminds me of Good Morning Vietnam. Aw, the guy that was in there was so amazing. He was always so like happy. He's a comedian, and I'm forgetting his name, but Jen, if once Jen, no, Jen knows it. So, anyways, about me. Good morning, everybody. Hyo-ho. My name is Avril. I already said that. I am a mother, a grandmother, Unci, a community member. I also am a entrepreneur. And what that means is I do my own work. So I don't have a boss to um, tell me what to do. I can clock in and clock out at my own time. And that is called AC and Associates. So AC, Avril Cordova, that's me, and Associates. In my business, I like to use a lot of friends, community members, individuals, because the type of work that I do, I got to shout out my mom and my dad because I talk about culture all the time, and I talk about what I know, what I've learned in my lifetime. And a lot of the times, companies like major corporations or individuals ask for a PhD or a BA or MBA or MA, all those letters behind your name, and I don't have that. So I just talk about what I know and what I know how to do. So shout out to the individuals who support me and are like, "You're badass, and you know how you know what you're doing." So um, anyways, sometimes imposter mode or, us thinking that we're not good enough can come into this powerful thing up here and make us feel less than. But I'm just very thankful and grateful that my sister, I always go back to my sister Songtree Cordova because she was like, you got to step up now that we're in a pandemic. You learn how to do Zoom, take it to the next level. So this is the next level for me, and I'm still learning, I'm still growing, and I'm still um, trying to figure things out. So when we come on here, I had this whole production ready, and then it didn't, it failed to download. So we're just gonna roll, and I don't need to be fancy, Avril. People call me fancy, or that I'm like too much over the top, but you know what? That's what makes me who I am, and that's what makes the things that I do exciting. And you're ready, and you don't even, I mean, you're not ready, but what I'm trying to say is that's what makes me who I am. And I'm fancy. I like to go over the top. Ask my daughter. She does the same thing. Anyways, so that's who I am. I'm Avril Cordova. I'm coming to you I'm a visitor on the lands of the Snow Mountain Paiute, which also can be referred to as the common day Northern Las Vegas, Nevada. I am, however, a resident of the Tongva territory, which is Los Angeles County. And my family's from Taos Pueblo and Oglala and Pine Ridge, South Dakota. So shout out to my fams that are watching, giving some love to my niece, Raylene. Ray, I love you guys. We're waiting for you to come visit us here in Vegas. And I'm just excited to see even that type of support. Just them putting a heart is me feeling supported by them. They're in South Dakota. That's like thousands of miles away from here, and still they can show me love. So ta'a pilamayaye, thank you, and tell all the babies I said hello, and give your mom a hug for me. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, and I keep calling her the beautiful, the amazing, because she is also a badass, and she will, like, when I have a problem, I can pick up the phone and I'll be like, Jen, how do I get through this? Or, Jen, look over this paper for me. And she's all, this is wrong. You need to add a period there. It keeps running on and on and on. But like I told my sister, I'm not a writer. Like, that's not me. I can't write grants. Well, I'm sure I have a lot of valuable input that can be put into grants. But if somebody reads my stuff, they're going to be like, when does this thing end? Because when does this thing end? I keep going on and on. So Jen is like the human word check and the human document person. She's a writer. She is a writer. She writes amazing movies, and she's an actor, producer. She's a Unci. She's an Auntie. She's a Sissy. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce her and bring her on. This is my beautiful friend and sister, Jennifer Varenchek. Boo, boo,
boo. This is my sound effect. Ready?
Ready. Wow.
It is the old
AICC bell.
AICC, yeah. From, excuse me, way back when. And then it was replaced. I don't know what happened to it, but I got to keep the original. But anyways, good morning, everybody. I'm really happy to be here and happy to be a part of this broadcast. And as Avril said, I am a writer. I'm a writer and a director. I'm also an editor and, associate producer. My whole thing is I write things and I make things, and then I turn them free into the universe. And I will continue to do that until one day something hits. And I do all genres. I've done comedies. I've done a horror film. I just finished wrapping on a short film having to do with MMIW. And I'm just a creator. So I am really excited about the topics that we're going to be talking about today. Avril and I always meet beforehand and kind of do a little bit of a brainstorm. Most of the time, we kind of go off in other directions because we are really good friends and we are able to support each other. So our conversation usually turns into other topics. But from those, we can pull out those things that are important and then be prepared to share them with you. And once we come up with our ideas, we give ourselves a day or two to just kind of like mull over that and come up with even more ideas to share with you guys. So I guess for me, I just wanted to say that I'm really grateful to be here. And I'm reminded of there is a podcast that I listen to. It is called And That's Why We Drink. And when they first started, they kept talking about two women. They kept talking about how only their moms were going to tune in. And that was it. But now, like all these years later, like 3 or 4 or 5, I don't know how many years later, they have a huge following and all of that. So I'm like, we're at very humble beginnings, and that's cool because you never know. Because you do never know. I mean, this might take off. It also might be something that we end up, it might morph into something else. So I'm just happy that I'm able to say that I'm in on the ground floor. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for always supporting me. Like Jen says, when we start talking or when we start pre-planning for this, Jen is such a support. Like, she is right. We can talk to each other about anything. And that's what a lot of times some people don't have, is that individual that will support you, that will cry with you, that will hand you the tissue, that will lift you up, and not necessarily agree with you either. And also protect you when you're not there. So if people are talking about you or, saying things, you're going to step up for that person. You're not going to be in the mix and be talking about that person when that person's your friend or somebody that you care about. So, thanks, Jen, for always being here. And this is our humble beginnings. Thank you to the 5 people that are watching. It might be more than, just our sisters, but our cousins, but thank you. We're Indian people, so we got to call out that community, that family that we have. So share it, like it, call your aunties and your grandmas and say, hey, there's some Uncis online that are talking. And they'll be like, what? Anyways, I just also want to say shout out to Robin Gomez. Good afternoon, community. There's a lot of people in our lives that have supported us and, even also brought us down, and we've grown from that. So thank you for being with us this afternoon. We're going to go on until about, 2:30. Is that what we said? 3:30 for a couple hours. Go on for a couple hours and see where it goes from there. But we do have some questions, and Jen's going to read them out to you, and we'll put them on the screen so that we want to get your information as well. So, Jen, what is the first question?
Let me turn the page on my notes because I'm on a new day. So here we go. Having the conversation. So the first, I don't know what the exact question is. Let me figure it out here. It has to do with when you are in a situation and you need to confront somebody, and we decided that confront might be a little bit too aggressive, but you do need to have a conversation with somebody about something. And what does that look like? And how does that feel? And what are the steps that you take? And this came out, and I'll just share, Avril, what happened. Something happened over this past week that made me feel uncomfortable. And I heard that some people were saying some things, and those things made me feel uncomfortable. And I was talking to Avril about it, and I was really more like complaining about it. And she listened, because that's what good friends do. But then she also, like a good friend and a wise woman, kind of put it back on me, which was, maybe you should have a conversation with her. Maybe you should talk to her directly. And I knew that, but sometimes I forget about that. And sometimes I turn into, insecure teenager self. And I was just like, meh, 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 meh. And she was like, okay, like, are you done? And now, what are you going to do about it? Because you can't just be talking to people and complaining, although you can. And that's the way a lot of people choose to, that's their choices. But for me, as a woman who's trying to be, a mature person and make good decisions and to be a good, um, ancestor in training, I needed to confront the person, have this conversation. And I did. And I was so grateful that I did, because it was all blown up. Like, everything that everyone had said to me was not accurate. And it ended up being like very, very meaningful. And I was so glad that I took Avril's advice, which was just to have a conversation with her. So it was uncomfortable. I remember before, like, hitting, on the phone, dialing the phone. I remember, like, my heart was beating because I was like nervous about what was going to happen. Um, and I didn't know if she was going to like blow up on me, or if it was going to like end in like a horrible way. What was going to happen? Was I going to start crying? Because I always am like very emotional, already like on edge with the events that are happening in my life. And so, but it ended up being really good. So our question to you is, have you ever had to be have you ever been in a position where you need to have a conversation with somebody about an uncomfortable topic? And it could be about anything, but as long as it was something that was uncomfortable, maybe rumors or things that you heard, but you wanted clarification, which is why I had the conversation, which was for clarification. So I'm going to turn it back to you, Avril, if you want to add anything in there about our question.
Yeah, this is a great question. And it's funny how we talk about, or I don't know if it's funny. It can be funny. I can make a joke out of it. But, sometimes having the conversation is hard because you don't know, you don't want to, you might be going through something already and you have all these things in this mind that is so powerful that can be spinning things around and be like, why do they have to do this? Why do they have to do that? Why is this? But all of these questions are whys, and we need to get the answers to those whys. Like Jen was saying, she had this incident with this individual, and I was like, well, first off, thank her for doing what she did, because she was a part of an amazing project. And she didn't have to be a part of that amazing project, but she didn't also have to be talking, madness. People don't have, I don't know. It's just like what I'm trying to say is like, have the conversation. It clears up things. It takes this thing from spinning its wheels to stopping and just being at a place where you need to be. I recently had two conversations, not recently. So there's two stories that I can think of. One, when I worked in an agency probably about 10 years ago. Um, so this individual was, I don't know, they were just like all over the place, and I was frustrated, and they were like, I was just frustrated with them. I was like, why are they doing this? Why do they got to do this? Why do they have to do this? And I talked to my supervisor about it because I didn't want to um, go and I didn't want it to go on. So I talked to my supervisor, and she was amazing to be able to tell me, are you comfortable enough to go to her and talk to her about this issue? And I said, yes. Well, I've known her for a very long time. So I want to get it cleared up because I don't want this uncomfortable space. So she said, okay, well, why don't you try going to talk to her first? And if you can't, then I will step in. And that was a great learning lesson for me. Shout out to Kendra Valdez. If you don't know who she is, she's amazing individual. So Kendra put me in this mindset that I need to bring on the conversation with this individual. And we had the conversation and it was amazing. And after that happened, we worked well. We worked better together. We were already working well, but we weren't working to our best ability. So that was great to be able to have a common understanding about the way things are and the way things work, and then work for the ultimate goal of getting it done. The other thing is, I've have in my life felt like I don't know if I want to put this out there, but I'm going to put it out there because this is a real show. So, okay. So I felt like not appreciated, but not informed, not informed to what somebody was going to be doing. And I was also in the picture and I was like, if you just let me know what's going on, I'll have a better idea of what I need to plan in my life. And the conversation was not necessarily, taken well on my end, but I just was like, at least I had the conversation. And after that conversation was done, then everything was better. And we all have like a better idea of the way things need to flow. So basically just having the conversation. Do you guys have conversations with who you need to have conversations with? Do you guys think about what you're going to say? Do you write it down? What is it that you do when you need to have that conversation, whether it be with a partner, your child, a coworker, a friend? What's the conversation that you guys have? Or do you even have a conversation, or you don't have a conversation and you're just like me sometimes and in the room in an infant, crying my eyes out. Just kidding. No, I'm not just kidding sometimes.
I think back on myself and about how, I think of, one incident in particular where I didn't have the conversation and I just let it slide. And I don't regret it, but I do think about what would have happened if I did, because I avoided the situation. And because I did that, all these other chain events happen that I am not happy about. I guess in a way it was like I saw a red flag and I just ignored the red flag because I didn't want to be uncomfortable, because it's hard to sit down and call someone out or call yourself out. And so I didn't do that. And I remember I was standing in my kitchen in my old house and this person was talking, and I could have said something right then and there, but I didn't. And that's the old me. The old me avoids. And I still have, that tendency in me, but I'm more fortunate now because I have people like you in my life. I have people like Gwen who will support me or encourage me and try and, steer me in a more positive direction. Because you could have just listened to my complaining and piled on with it, yeah, rah, rah, rah. And then, and that would have been that. And I would have still had, I'm sorry, there's a gnat flying around in my room. I would have had, still probably pent up negative feelings about the situation. So I am really grateful to have your support and to be now where I am in my life, where I know that I need to jump into the uncomfortableness in order to grow, in order to make, to learn.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like what you said about avoiding avoiding this or avoiding the conversation. That's the word that, because we were like confronting, but I don't want to use confronting because, you know, that's such a like a fighting word of confrontation. And that's not what I'm trying to like say. I'm just saying, let's have a conversation to get over this issue that we're dealing with so that we can be good.
Yeah, definitely. And going in with an attitude of sorry, there's a whole bunch of motorcycles driving by my house right now.
It's
Don't know if
okay.
you can hear it. Can you hear it? It's like rumbling. Anyways, going in with the attitude of like curiosity and empathy, not anger, not being like, well, I heard that you said this, you know. I called with, you know, first of all, I prayed before I made the call, which is always helpful. And second, when I called, I didn't lead with that. I just kind of like let the conversation happen. And then I brought up what I needed to bring up. And I didn't do it in an accusatory way. I did it in more of like, I'm just like, you know, checking in to see about blah, blah, blah. And it was great. It would, like I said, it was all built up. I don't know why I was even like stressing, but yeah.
You were stressing because of all those things that you heard, you know, like
That's
other
true.
people putting all of these things on your shoulders and saying, well, she was saying this and she was saying that. And then, you know, our teenage or, you know, our other self is like, well, what is she saying about me? Why is she saying these things? You know,
Yeah.
we're in this project together. Why would she be putting me down instead of bringing me up?
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So Robin has something good to say, and it says,
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like my own trauma response has taught me to shut down or not bring it up. And I totally agree with that. You know, trauma, past traumas, or maybe past experiences that you've had when confronting somebody can bring up those things to lead to avoidance. But one of the things that I had spoke with Jen about is, and this was prior a long time ago, is like no relationship should make you cry. Like in a bad way. When I was talking to her about something, I was crying, you know, and I was like, why this and why that? But why am I crying? You know, those are just all those emotions that are like stuck inside me and like wanting a release and wanting to cleanse and wanting to be better. So I totally hear what you're saying, Robin, about having own traumas, but it's also about steps to getting out of those traumas and feeling um, more secure in the actions and the emotions that we want to have within ourselves.
Yeah. And I also agree. If you grew up in a situation where um, questioning or having a conversation was not encouraged, it can be really difficult. Or if you've done that before and you've been completely like rejected or dismissed or whatever, it can be very traumatizing. And then it's like, well, then why did I even do that? Like, I'm not going to do it again. Um, and of course, I've had that happen in my life where it didn't go well. Fortunately, now I've had enough experiences where I have had the conversation and it did turn out okay. And now I have that behind me. And if I had one where it didn't turn out okay, I think I wouldn't let it bring me down as much, or I'd be kind of like, well, that's a fluke because look at all this other experience that I have where it's turned out okay. Although this is all hypothetical, and I'm saying that this to you now, but I think that I've done it enough to know that it's usually the best thing for me is to dive into the uncomfortable in order to move through it and get to the other side.
Yes, girl. Yes. Thank
Oh,
you.
I like what Bernadine says. Yes. Past traumas, in my experience, if not resolved, equals being emotionally disabled. I totally agree with you. Yeah, if not resolved. Um, and I'm not a stranger at all to therapy and to going into ceremony. So things that, everyone has their own way of coping and dealing with trauma. And I think one of the most important things is being able to release it, however that is for you. And prayer definitely helps. um, if you have a friend that you can pray with, that friend is a treasure.
Mm.
So I encourage people, especially my Indigenous brothers and sisters out there, when when you are friends with a person, if you are able to pray with that person, that is a huge blessing. Creator has blessed you, and to really take advantage of that and to treasure that. Um, and usually I don't pay attention to it until I'm in a situation where we don't pray and I'm like, oh, something's missing. Oh, yeah, that's why. Like if I ever go to eat somewhere and we don't pray, I'm always like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just do my own thing then. That's just me, though.
That's so interesting that you said that because I had the pleasure of going to California this past week and having dinner with some amazing individuals, Eric Sanchez included, and Robin Gomez, who's on here today, and some other amazing individuals. And two individuals looked at me and they're like, do we pray? And I was like, I just said it in my head because I don't know. I should have just said it. That's when we got to listen to our gut feeling and say, let's pray, and introducing that as a normal way um, to lead something or to, feel more connected. But it wasn't my thing. It wasn't like my um,
Okay.
program. So, but even though it wasn't my program, I guess, they would have been probably open to hearing, um, hearing prayer.
Mm.
So, with that prayer being said, we always, through AC and Associates and Jen too, what I want to talk for myself, but Jen, we like to open our stuff with events or have prayer involved in our events. So we're going to go ahead and I lit some California white sage that I was able to harvest. And I lit it. And so this is California white sage. And what sage does is it burns. You can use it in cooking. You can use it in different areas. It sometimes comes in at the grocery store in a container as a seasoning. But this, as an Indigenous woman or a Native woman, my dad taught me how to pray with this. So when I light it, what I've learned recently as well is that I learned this on a video that or not a video, a training that I gave, is that the grandmother, she put her hands above the smoke so she can like wash her hands in the smoke. And usually you just smudge, what we call smudging, and you just use the smoke all around your body. I've seen people inhale it so that they can have good words, and put it on your ears so you can listen well, and your eyes and your heart. And usually I put it on my hair because our hair means so much to us. And me and my granddaughter, we do this every day, every single day. And basically I pray for my family, my community, and then that smoke, it goes up to Wamana, or it goes up to Creator. It goes up to Holy Spirit. It goes up to our ancestors. It takes our prayers and our dreams and our everything that we've asked for. It takes it up to them so that they can hear our prayers. And all prayers aren't answered for whatever reason. But we're going to go ahead and pray today. And thank you for checking in with us and watching. But I'm just going to say a quick little prayer. Creator, we come to you today with open hearts and open minds, thankful for the many blessings that you provide us on a minute, monthly, second basis, from the ability to walk, talk, be here today, to be having a conversation, to be visiting with our family, our community, and those that are in our areas. May you continue to watch over them, watch them as they go through whatever it is they go through: grief, loss, health, wealth, finances, mental health, whatever it is that they're struggling with. May they be blessed. May they continue to turn to you. May they continue to feel loved, strengthened, and know that whatever blessings that you feel is in that path, that you bless them and continue to love and be there for them through blessings and answered prayers. Thank you for allowing us another day to be here, to laugh, to think, and to grow. Ta'a pilamayaye, gracias, atiehe, ajonasle, ajonasle, ajonasle. Amen. All right. So thanks, guys, for listening to me and being with me while I say a prayer, and it's slowly coming to an end. So all of your prayers have been lifted up to Wamana Creator. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jen for the next question, if we're done with
All
this
right.
question.
Thank you. Okay, so the second thing that we have is about reaching out on a two-way street. So I feel a duet coming on. I found love on a two-way street. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. I can't hear you.
And lost it on a lonely highway.
Okay, that was just for us. Sorry. It's a very, very old song, and when we were talking, which I'll tell you more about our topic, but we were talking about two-way street communication, and I busted out with "Love on a Two-Way Street," thinking that I was the only one who even knew that song, and was like blown away when Avril came up with the chorus. So that was just for us. But going back to what our topic is. So it's really about how sometimes we're going through things and we need to take a step back, and being okay with taking a step back. And that might mean not responding to text messages or phone calls or emails because you need to take care of yourself, and just being okay with, I guess, in a way, stepping off the grid or stepping away and like putting yourself into your own cocoon. And so when we were talking about this, I said, you have to remember that communication is two ways. Like you have the right to step away, and you should feel comfortable with that. And that if people really need or want to talk to you, they will reach out again, because that's what communication is. And we never know like what people are dealing with, like why, I think with the pandemic, we really got to have more of a wider view of why people don't get back to you, because things are going on in life that are just, literally life and death. And I hope we became as a society more empathetic, to, conversations or communications not being as quick and responsive as before. Being okay with people not having their camera on when they're on a Zoom call, things like that. So I'm not really sure exactly what our question is. We just wanted to bring this up about being okay with stepping away and taking care of yourself. So Avril, if you have any other words that you want to add to this.
That actually sums it up, and thank you for describing it in such a great way, especially like with Zoom calls. I give workshops all the time. I just gave a workshop to youth last Thursday, and one of the things is their cameras didn't work, or we want to be able to have them feel comfortable. We want to be able to have others feel comfortable. So if they're responding in the chat, then that's an amazing way to still communicate on a two-way street. So one of the things that we had talked about was, I myself have been feeling a lot of, have been in this funk, I would say, since November. And I haven't really been reaching out or talking to people. And I know that a lot of people are feeling like this. However, I want to be able to address it and be able to work my way out of it, because sometimes you can't always be happy 24/7. Like, I don't always have this smile on my face. Sometimes I wake up, or not, it's not even when I wake up. It's like during the day when I can just feel something, for whatever that situation is, whether it be missing somebody or not feeling like I can get something done, or whatever that feeling is I've been feeling bad by reaching out to people. And Jen was like, two-way street though. They have to reach to you too. So take the time to take time for you. Self-care is important. So we're in a pandemic, is what I keep hearing. We're in a pandemic. So you should be, okay to not be okay. It's okay to not be okay. And I still am learning that process. And, I'm used to like being in LA for one day and coming home, or, and jumping on a workshop, or I'm used to like Zoom, 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 like all over the time. Not like Zoom meetings, but like,
like a busy bee.
Yeah, busy, busy bee. So when I go into that cocoon state, it's unfamiliar to me, and it's just something that I've been working through each day. So I'm just we're just having this conversation and putting it out there, because if I'm feeling like that, I'm hoping like others can talk about it as well and get through this and process it, and just work through it. That's it. The end. Or scene.
Yeah, that's right. I think for myself, and Avril is one of the close people in my life, so she knows what's going on. But since October, things have been happening in my life, like one after the other. And really it started in February of last year with the whole Artesia House thing. And that was a really big lesson. And I want to give a shout out to Mel Mosquat for really helping me to learn what the lesson was, or to like lay down the structure for what the lesson was, which is learn how to compartmentalize, which, yay, I said that word. I can never say that word. But learn to compartmentalize. And at that particular time in my life, we had just moved here, and I was like trying to find, the lay of the land here. I had serious issues going on back home. And I would get triggered every time I would get a phone call or text or email from this particular situation. And I have a Fitbit, and I remember we were, Mel and Tom came to visit us in Hawaii, and we were walking around, and I got a message from the situation, and I looked at my Fitbit, and my heart rate was like way high. And I was just like sitting there, and I'm like, this situation makes me so angry. And he let me say what I needed to say to kind of like get it out. And then he was like, this is a good lesson for you to learn how to compartmentalize. And at the time, I was kind of like, whatever, because when I'm in that angry state, it's like whatever you say to me is not really going to penetrate because I'm too much giving out and not allowing to come in. And so I heard what he said, but I was like, I didn't want to be rational. I wanted to be irrational because that's what felt good at the time. But a couple of weeks later, I realized, like, yeah, I did need to learn how to do that. And so once I learned how to do that, things started working out throughout the whole entire summer and the fall. And then we got more bad news about other things happening in our life in October and then in November. And then just recently in April. Where are we? We're in April. So my point is that I think with my close family and friends, I've had a two-way street. I've really reached out, or they've reached out to me. But everybody else just drops because I don't have the strength and the energy to keep that up. So I guess in a way it's kind of like an apology, but at the same time, it's like we all need to learn to just be okay with that. It's not my normal mode, and I know that. As long as I know that, I'm okay. Like, I know that this is not normally how I operate. From October until now is not normally how I operate. And I'm just starting to kind of feel like I'm coming back, so that's good. And kind of like be like what Avril said, zoom, 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 not just zoom, but like busy. And I encourage people, if you need to take time to just do whatever, to be you, to do it, and to do it in a good way, and to not feel shame or guilt while doing it, because a healthier you makes a healthier community. So when we are not taking care of ourselves and we are listening to that gnawing voice that's telling us to continue to zoom when you just don't have any energy, that's not being healthy. That's being detrimental to yourself and then to the community. So we need to learn to take care of ourselves. And I'm learning that. And I'm just grateful that I have space and time and the ability to do that, because, sometimes we don't have that. Sometimes we can't take a break. So back to you, Avril.
I love that, Jen. When you can't take care of you, can't take care of community. I really hear what you're saying when you say that. So thank you. I know we've all been through something, right? We've all been through pandemic. We've all need to learn how to be with ourselves and our feelings. And, maybe I do all those Zoomings because I don't want to sit down and, self-heal. So it's a time right now where we definitely have a lesson in front of us, and just being okay with not being okay. And I love everything that you've heard, and I love everything that I've heard that you've said. And I just really appreciate this time and this space that we're sharing, not only for us, but just for our community, like you said. So, Ta'a, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just and feel free to, in the comments, like I do see, different people saying different things. Songtree also says asking to meet at a mutual agreeable time, or taking a poll, especially as school goes back and forth and the seasons changing. So this is the time to grow, time, spring. We see all of these, all of these beautiful plants and things growing because they've been planted or a seed has flown somewhere, with the wind or whatever. But now is the time for us to grow within ourselves. That's it, the end. I could talk forever. So what's the next question?
Okay, it kind of leads into what we just talked about, leads into the next question, which was about empathy and having empathy for each other. And I'm going to take a step back right now because I feel the emotion coming. And not that I want to push it down, but I'm just not ready for it to come out. So I'll let you take the lead.
Okay, so empathy, having it for each other. One of the things that Jen mentioned earlier was that we don't know what people are going through. We don't know what people are struggling with in their homes, in their personal lives. Somebody can be struggling with wanting to live. Somebody can be struggling with many types of health stuff. Somebody can be struggling with, not believing in themselves, or somebody can struggle with a broken relationship. So there's a lot of things that that people are struggling with that we have no idea about. So I just want to say, empathy. Do you know what empathy is? It's basically having respect, having a something like your feelings of compassion, or your feelings of everything's going to be okay, or I need to Google it because these are my definitions, but I don't know the empathy is just having respect for the other person and knowing that whatever it is that you can step back but care in your own way, in your own head for them, or putting yourself in their shoes. Like, we don't know that somebody might have just lost somebody. With COVID, I stopped counting after 12 people from November that we've lost in my family. So we've all lost somebody, and just be mindful, like, remember that others might be going through something and they are not their full bubbly self. They're not always checking in on you. They're not they're trying to get through whatever it is that they're going through. So have empathy for somebody else. Know that your situation or their situation might not be made publicly, but they're still going through something. So that's it. I guess what I wanted to say is definitely is be mindful that other people are going through things as well. So empathy, having it for each other. Shout out. I'm just going to do a couple of shout outs to people that are in the chat. Love to your. I think that's how you say it. Thank you for checking in on Twitch. And Josette, thank you for letting the Twitch users know that this is live. It's not a recording, but you can always go back and rewatch it. So it may not be necessarily recorded, but it is recorded because you can go back and watch it. But thanks. Okay, so someone's going through something, but we'll keep it inside. Yes. Okay, so thanks guys all for watching. We also have Songtree watching. She's coming in from New Mexico. And just want to say thank you guys all for being here and hanging out with us for Sissies, Uncis, and Aunties. So we're gonna if you're ready, Jen, to come back.
Step away for a moment. Yeah, it is important. I know before the pandemic, I was more, or I guess less empathetic. I was less empathetic about people and things. Um, I'll just give an example. Like when working on a film project, um, when you're in production, it's like you need things quick and fast. Like things need to get moving. Um, and um, in this particular project that I was just doing, um, I knew going in that my producer was going through a situation with losing a family member. And I knew that. I was aware of that. That's actually what drew me to her because we were going through the same thing. She was steps ahead of me, but I was just beginning where she was already like it I guess at the end of that journey or towards the end of that journey. So going in, when I wouldn't get an email back or a phone call or whatever, I was okay with that because I knew like you can't operate in the same situation because number one, pandemic, number two, she's going through something. And then also don't be so tough on me because I'm going through something too. So it's like all these like things. And despite like a lot of not a lot of voices in my head, but not actual real people. I don't think not one person said this to me, but um about continuing to go through with my film project, even though I was facing all these things, or I guess in particular just one thing. But I made the decision that I still wanted to go on. And despite being in that situation, knowing that maybe it won't be as fast as you have been in the past, but I didn't feel like shutting down production would be beneficial for me. Like, because I know myself. If I just shut it down, then I'm just going to sit around and be depressed. And that's not good because I've been there, believe me. I've been in the whole sleeping all day, not taking showers, barely eating, crying, just like that whole thing. I don't want to do that. I've done that before and it's not healthy and it doesn't feel good. And if we shut that down, that's probably where I would have gone. Because when you're not like busy, for me, when I'm not busy, my mind tends to go in a place like that. So I made the decision that together, we were going to do the best that we could in our emotionally wounded selves. We're gonna move on, and we did, and it was great. It was really great, and turns out that two other very key people on the project had also recently been through something. So we all kind of had like this bond, and it allowed us to be closer to each other because we know what that's like. And I didn't necessarily share it with everybody that was working on the project, like what was going on. And I was fortunate in the fact that my character needed to have an emotional breakdown. So I just allowed that to happen because I'm not that great of an actress. And but the tears that were coming, they were real because they were. I was crying about something else. I was supposed to be crying because of what was happening in the story, but I took that emotion and I channeled it into what was happening in the story. So empathy, I think, I really hope that we can all emerge from this pandemic having more empathy for each other, and especially having more empathy for ourselves. Maybe we've been able to take a step back and like look and see how we've been operating. Have we been burning the candle at both ends? Things like that. And then, just taking a step back. That's all.
The end.
The
Scene.
end. Scene. La la.
I like a couple of things that people are saying. I know that there's some individuals checking in. Lisa Smith, who I love this individual. She's so amazing. She's so beautiful and always committed to community through whatever it is that she's doing. So she's thankful to hear this, very needed. And then also, this is another great one. Song Tree checking in from New Mexico. As Indigenous people, some, a lot, don't understand why we fight so hard and propel social movements to be visible in education, books, movies, politics. So also having empathy that they don't know, but we may share common core values of love, respect, and could find common grounds and share knowledge. Yes, thank you, Songtree.
Mm-hmm.
And then Josette or Bernadine says, your real life experience transferred into the screen.
Yes. Yes. I guess you would call that acting, but and one day I can't wait to share it all with everybody. So we're in editing now. So
yeah. Okay, so let's go on to the next question.
Okay. It's about lateral violence. So all of these things kind of like roll into each other. So lateral violence, that is basically when we or when one is, I guess, violent against the other, not necessarily physical. It could be more like verbal or emotional, but where you are, I guess, fighting against your sister or brother. And in the Native American community specifically, what we're talking about are things like gossip and rumors, holding each other, or I guess putting each other down instead of building each other up. Jealousy, things like that. And I understand why we have it, because we have been so traumatized and all the things that have happened to us historically throughout generations, intergenerational trauma and things like that. I think we are getting to a point now where we are able to recognize it and call it out for what it is, and to make a choice about how you're going to respond to it. And I know that many people have been the victim of lateral violence. Besides myself, I'm thinking of like the most recent person that I know of that I guess was basically in a way almost like run out of town. And I don't and I just have a lot of empathy for this individual, because I know what it's like to have your community turn on you. And I remember holding someone's hand, a young woman, when it happened to her. And just at that particular time, I was driving her a lot to social events and back to our house, and having conversations with her, and just kind of like being able to share of like, well, this is what happened to me and this is what I did about it. And, just kind of like sharing experience, I guess, kind of like an old dog passing on to the new dog. And realizing that the things that I learned are really crappy lessons. Like, they were horrible, but they were important. And I'm grateful and thankful that they happened when I was, young in my 20s and 30s, so that in my 40s and 50s, I can make wiser decisions. Um, so I'll turn it back to you, Avril, whatever you want to share about lateral violence.
Thank you. I also wanted to invite Jen. Are you okay with this?
Yeah.
Okay, because I did ask you, but I didn't hear anything back.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't respond.
Okay,
Because
but you know what I'm talking about, right?
I don't, but I'm available for whatever it is that you're going to do.
Okay, so I'm going to put a link in the chat. If you want to join us on this topic, then click on that link and you can give your insight to it. But lateral violence, what is it? It's basically talking, gossiping, bringing people down instead of fixing their crown, putting down the ladder for other individuals so that they can climb up and holding on to that ladder so you're not putting it down. Or, for me, I experience a lot of individuals who come to me and want to express themselves, and I'm open to that. And a lot of the times, some of those things that are being said are things that I can't fix because it's not me that's the individual that's doing it. It's just individuals expressing their feelings and complaining to me that these things are happening. And it's happening a lot in Indian country. And basically it's you, whether it's gossip, it's you talking to somebody, it's you saying something instead of, it's probably about somebody complaining and, jealousy, all those things that Jen mentioned before. Lateral violence, it's like not something that I like to participate in. It's not something that I like to feed off of, or it's not something that I like to feed the fire with. So basically, somebody can come to me and be like, oh, this person, la, la, la. And I'm like, no, I'm going to put the fire out right there because I'm not going to keep going on with feeding the flames of something I know nothing about, but you want to tell me. So I'm not about lateral violence. I'm not about violence at all, whether it be lateral, physical, emotional. All of this is, like you said, I'm glad actually that you said that, Jen, about being a suppressed community, being a suppressed individual. You didn't use the word suppressed, but being traumatized by, all of the things that our people have went through. Just exactly what Songtru was saying. We have all of these non-Indigenous people, whatever race it is, and like, why do you want to keep talking about Indians? Why do you want to? Because we want to get the right information out there, and it's not all about just, a headdress. That's not, that's not all Indians. We're all different people, and we're all different people in communities. So I understand about conversation, about having that conversation, but when you're putting others down, and when you're not lifting them up, and when you're knocking their crown off instead of fixing their crown, that's not something that want to be a part of or that I am about. So lateral violence, let's not do it, and let's lift other people up. That's all I have to say. The end.
I'm curious to know out there if any of the people that are with us watching or listening, if they've experienced lateral violence, and if they did, like, what did they do about it? I think for me, I have two very significant instances that happened in my life. And the first one was so like traumatizing and like unexpected, I guess. And it happened in a work within an organization, which I'm sure has happened to many people out there, Native individuals in Native organizations. But the first one, what I did was I completely took a step back. And I focused on, we always talk about with Native people living in two worlds. And so we have one foot in the native world, in the native community, and then one foot in the mainstream world, non-native community, whatever that is for you. And so I took my foot out of the native community and I concentrated on my life in the mainstream non-native community. Um, and I felt like I had to do that because it was painful. Um, and of course, not everybody was like attacking me, but like it just was a hard time in my life. And I'm so thankful to um, a friend who ended up reaching out to me. It was actually, we talked about him last week, Ben Hale, who reached out to me, and he called me and he was like, I heard what happened. It's so wrong. We know why it happened, XYZ. Um, and I know that I don't know. Basically, he was saying, like, you're not working now, so why don't you come with us? Because he was doing a lot of presentations at that time. He's like, and why don't you just come help us out? Like, why don't you just come join us? And I did, and that really helped me get out of my funk. So again, once again, I'm so grateful to Benjamin Hale and his family, who kind of like, I guess, uplifted me at the time and really helped me to um, step out of like, woe is me, being so pitiful, and saw the injustice of what happened, and was like, you know, that's what happened over there is bad, but that's okay, because come with us and we'll lift you up. And they did.
Mm.
And then the second time it happened, it was pretty much the same thing. I had to take a step back, set up my boundaries, and really focus and work on me. And of course, there were times in both situations where I was like so sad, so depressed. But I wasn't going to let it defeat me, because then what? That's not going to do any good. And I also didn't want to give the situations, the people, the satisfaction of defeating me. So I was hurt for a little bit, and then I stood up and, got that fighting spirit back. Anyway,
Awesome.
yeah.
I like how people in our community lifted you up. I like how if you don't know Ben Hale, you need to meet him. He's such an amazing individual, such a healing spirit, has some amazing words. Him and his family are all amazing. So thank you, Ben, for lifting up my girl and bringing her over from the dark side. You
Totally.
like that?
Totally. I know. Wait, before we move on, I have to give a shout out to Mike J. Marin. I just got his new shirt. Or this is not a new shirt. It's a new to me. But it says, a long time ago when the colonizers were far, far away. And that's like a Star Wars reference, if anyone knows that. Because if you know me, you know I'm like a Star Wars chick. So shout out to Mike and his t-shirt company. That's all.
Awesome. Well, we have one brave soul who clicked on that link, and we're going to go ahead and bring her on. And thank you to this individual who always finds time to support me and jump on my lives. I did a live yesterday, so I'm going to bring her on. Hello, beautiful individual walking. How are you?
Hi, everybody. Doing good. Hi, Jen.
Hey, nice to see you.
Aloha.
Yeah, aloha.
And Yaho, Yate, everybody else.
Yate.
Yate. How are you guys? Oh my gosh, your lives are awesome. Like, I'm always compelled to talk about like experiences too. So thank you for hearing my voice all the time. I appreciate it.
Aw. Go he. Go. So thank you for joining us, Songtree. What you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Songtree Payochi. I'm Taos Pueblo, Oglala Lakota. I'm married to Navajo and currently zooming in from the unceded lands of the Tiwa in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I'm a senior. I'm graduating next month with a degree in Native American Studies with an emphasis in leadership and building Native nations and a minor in management. And I mean, they say education is a great equalizer, and I really believe that. Like studying Native American studies has opened my eyes so much and amplified my voice and put me in a position to make really significant impact in my community. So um, yeah, I really appreciate all of the efforts, of our ancestors and of several PhDs, putting their efforts. Like Albuquerque has a really huge impact in activism, Native American activism, and I'm benefiting from that. So I really appreciate it. That was a long intro.
Yay, but such great information that we need to hear. So thank you for checking in with us. You always, I am so thankful that you always have some great words and that you always want to take a step out of your comfort zone and be on live with us. So thank you for joining us. So Songtree, introduce yourself. If you don't know, Songtree is my twin sister. And she's checking in from New Mexico. She's amazing, just started her own business and is on the road to self-sufficiency in 2021. And I just want to say thank you. She does amazing work. She's also the vice chair for the New Mexico Democratic Party of San Juan County, and has a voice in what is important to all of us is voting, not only for presidential elections, but voting so that our world is a voice of yours. So if you choose somebody and if you vote for somebody, you are voting for them because you agree with what it is that they stand for and that they can help your communities as well. So thank you, Songtree, for being on here. Some of the topics that we've been talking about are a range of different topics, but the last question that we have is lateral violence. So do you have some input to give with regards to lateral violence?
Yeah, I was switching phones, so I heard part of the conversation, but as I was walking to the playground where my son's playing, I was thinking if what I go through as an advocate, activist, scholar activist is considered lateral violence. So an example would be sometimes the infighting that happens within Indian education committees. Right now we're at a point in history where we're fighting for our identities. We don't want to be just labeled Native American because each tribe, has its own sovereignty, government to government relationship um, with the federal government and our own languages and customs and traditions. And so I'm over like being considered Native American. I claim my heritage as a Taos Pueblo woman, Oglala Lakota woman, and accepted by the Navajo community through the marriage to my husband. And when I go to these Indian Education Committee meetings and I'm talking about certain language revitalization efforts that are happening not only in New Mexico but nationwide, worldwide, and then they're like, nope, we're going to stick to Navajo because we are less than 50 miles away from Navajo. So their justification is that because the tribe isn't, the student, say that's Tohon Odom, is more than 50 miles away, they're not going to honor that. So that's my fight constantly, to speak up for, tribes other than Navajo. And I always say this, I don't have nothing against Navajos. I'm married to a Navajo and my kids are Navajo. So, yeah, so, so I'm fighting for equity within the Native American community. And I get shut down a lot. Like, I don't get allowed to speak. And then you guys were talking about shutting down from your advocacy work and your community work, because it's takes such a toll on you. And so some days I'm like, why am I even doing this? Like, they are not listening to me, even though I'm more educated in these different arenas than they are. And so, and I feel those days, and I just check out and I go on to my other work where people are listening. And that's how I've been able to elevate myself in politics, because they need us. They need us to understand how to serve us. And anyway, so I was wondering, is that a form of lateral violence? And yeah, and without saying any names, our former chair, she'd quit yesterday or the day before yesterday, and she's a cop, a retired police officer. So I wonder too, with all this talk about police violence, like, do cops know how to communicate? Like, they have a certain kind of a training that is just geared towards criminals, or suspected criminals, like, and then when they position themselves as like a community resource officer or the president of an Indian education committee, like, what do you think? Is that considered lateral violence?
I would say yes, but you've dealt with a lot of community violence from individuals where they wouldn't even allow you onto the school grounds unless you gave prior consent, and then you had to be escorted by a police officer. I mean, Sanjay has been through so much that she's talked to me about. So I'm just saying this because I know what she's gone through. But I totally hear what you're saying with regards to police officers. I feel for them because everybody's against them right now. But they're the people that we call when something's going on. And I always say, like, when a child is if we have a child and parents say, I'm going to call the cops on you and I'm going to have them, do this, or, I'm going to call the police or whatever. And I'm like, police are supposed to be there to protect us. So why would we call our children to be taken away? We don't want to put a scare in them, but we also want to be able to respect them. But how can we respect them if they don't respect us? So I hear everything that you're saying, and I would say yes, it's a lateral violence, but then as well I would say that you're in a position where you can teach them and educate them. And if somebody's going to listen to you, like, the realm that you're in, and they're listening to you and you're doing great strides, then I would say continue whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Avril's saying about, it does sound like it's lateral violence. And I think I was thinking about how, I remember when you first started your education journey, like years back, and it reminds me of like planting seeds, like you are planting seeds, and one day it's going to be a beautiful, healthy forest, but it's not there yet. A lot has to happen in order for that to manifest. So yes, we're going to have lateral violence. I think also about, like, within the Native American acting and film community in Los Angeles, I remember way back, they used to have the unions used to have and the networks had like committees for Native Americans, and there was so much arguing going on, and people couldn't agree about things, it gave the wrong impression about us, and they just dispersed it. And now it's like it's something else. It went to something else, but like it was something that was meant to be a bridge, and basically because of infighting, we burned it. But now, years and years later, probably a decade at least later, now we have like our own show on a network. There are other networks that are in development. We have other shows coming out. It's like, so back then I remember hearing the news like, oh, they disbanded it because we couldn't get along. I remember hearing that and just being like, why did they mess it up for us,
Yeah.
But you got to keep going, and people did keep going, and now here we are, at least a decade or more later, and things have changed a little bit. So I want to say that to you, like, just to keep going and take those steps back when you need to, and go into those environments where you are appreciated and where you are respected, because that helps fill us back up. And then you can get back out there. It's like you go into your corner and they, pat you off and give you some water, and you can rest for a moment, and then you got to get back out there and start fighting again. So
Yeah.
keep going, but
Thank
also
you.
step back when you need to. We're here to help you. However,
Yeah. And thank you so much for saying that. And I just remember 2 years ago when I did, decide to go back to school because I faced discrimination. And I was like, I'm going back to be a lawyer and I'm going to sue her. And I remember crying in the locker room of where I worked. And I was talking to you, Jen. And I was like, you said our stories need to be heard. We need to do everything that we can to make sure the barriers that we face, the discrimination, and the wins, the celebrations need to be heard. And so I really appreciate that, because they matter. Those words matter, especially at the beginning when you kind of like discover your purpose, Creator provides that pathway for you, and I found that pathway, and then like the continued you guys are role models to me because you have your own businesses, and I finally snapped like recently, like, why am I giving away my wisdom for free? Like, in order to indigenize these communities, like, I need to be paid, like my family cannot, I need to feed my family, and pay my bills and, level up. So thank you guys for doing that, because I started my own business, and a lot of people think when you start your own business, like you're going from, negative in the bank to like 500,000 or a million, but it's not that. It's like baby steps. Like the first step I took was, going to the Chamber of Commerce and asking for help. Like, okay, I have this idea, and they're just like, do this, and this, So, I think too, that's the oppression that we've experienced, you know, um, we don't think like business owners, like corporations and like white people do, I don't know. I feel like we just grew up differently. Like my parents are retired from the United States Postal Service, and they did all the things. They moved to LA, they got government jobs, good government jobs, and we went to good public white schools, but I don't think they ever felt fulfilled. I mean, they were accomplished, but they still yearned for that cultural connection. And so that's all I have to say.
scene, the end. La
Well,
la.
thank you so much for all of your great information. We have another guest, so I'm going to go ahead and bring her on. And she has a different experience, and she has different words, which is fine because we're not all the same people. So let's hear from this beautiful individual. And go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I am Josette. Well, Bernadine Josette. Use both names. And currently I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And my opinion on lateral violence would be somewhat educational in regards to my son. So my son has an IEP, and I feel that within his classroom, just his classroom, he is the only that I know of, only Native American boy there. So I feel that sometimes he gets bullied for being a Native American, which seems kind of um, uncertain because they, and when I say they, the students, young minds, have a stereotypical idea of what Native Americans are. Cowboys and Indians, and in cartoons, and we run around with loincloths, and we live in teepees, and we don't live in a modern world, which is completely untrue. We, as all of us here, we all know that's completely different. So I think sometimes he gets overwhelmed at just being a Native American, just being an Indian, because he doesn't understand what that is, because we don't live on tribal reservations currently. I live in Santa Fe, people live in LA, people live in Hawaii. Hi, Jen.
Mhm.
Um, and it's different for him because it's always a constant struggle, because most of the children in his class are Spanish or Mexican or Hispanic, whatever their quote unquote labels are, and he feels different. So I have to, I guess the, I don't know if I would consider it violence, but I guess the stereotypes are always a battle for us, because you see my hair is blonde, my eyes are blue, my daughter doesn't look like my son. I have a multi um, united tribal front. My children are Taos, Sioux. My daughter is white. My son is Mexican. And they always get some kind of um, comment. That's your mom. Your mom doesn't look like you. You know, your son has brown eyes. You don't have brown eyes. And but my children look like their fathers. So to me, I think it's equally as hard for them growing up to find that equal ground with other natives. Does that make any sense?
Yeah,
It makes a
it
lot of
makes a lot of
sense.
sense.
I think, and everybody experiences different things in their lives, and being here in northern Las Vegas, and my daughter's home and your niece's home, I have two grandchildren, both. If you don't know, Bernadine and Songtree are both my sisters. So that's why I say they're nieces and their nephews. So every night when I put the kids to sleep, I tell them good night in our language, and they respond in the language that we know as our own, and are in Tiwa. And I also tell them they are Indian. And my grandson Eli is like, no, I'm not Indian. And I'm all like, yes, you are Indian. You're Indian. You're Michigan. You're Lakota. You're Tiwa. But it's for me introducing them that they are a mixed race. They are both Indian. They are both Mexican, and having them be proud of that. And you are so close to home. You go home for ceremony all the time, and we've had a lot of loss in our family where that's a lot of things. It's different than going to Rose Hills and having a machine open the ground and putting them in. That's not what we do back home. And Junior has the opportunity to know all of those ceremonies, and growing up in Los Angeles, and we didn't necessarily go home all the time, or when we did go home, we did learn certain things. But what I'm trying to say is still being able to feed him this Taos knowledge, this Lakota knowledge that we have. I know it's a daily struggle with different individuals, and I'm not just going to cover it in prettiness, because it is hard. You know, growing up in Los Angeles, I struggled with finding my own identity. You all know that I, hung out with different people, Mexicans, Hispanics, whatever. And that was the identity that that was the identity that I put on because I felt comfortable and I felt accepted. But living close to home, us being Indian, us being Native, as we grow up and we come into our own identity, he's going to be powerful because he knows all of those things that he can pass on to his children. He knows that he needs to get water. He knows that he needs to, get some wood for whatever it is. So yes, I would say it is lateral violence, but one of the things that I did hear you say as well is that it's an educational teaching, is like talking to his teachers. I'm sure you've already probably done that, or even during Native American Heritage Month, maybe even on Columbus Day, introducing these things as not just headdresses. I had given this workshop about Native Americans in sports, and Songtree actually was able to attend one of those, and highlighting those individuals right now that are natives that are doing amazing things, like Bethany Yellowtail or PJ Vargas, or Rutherford Falls is the new sitcom on Peacock that just opened, on the 22nd. So highlighting those natives that are now and not back then, which we also, our ancestors are amazing. That's who makes us who we are. But I would just encourage education and continually talking to him in our language. And, it's hard. It's a struggle, but it's what makes us stronger. That's it. That's my feedback. The end. Anybody else? Or your response to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I was not in the same situation, but a similar situation throughout my childhood. I was raised in a predominantly Caucasian neighborhood community, and I'm obviously dark, and it was very, very hard to fit in. And then also finding my identity. I always knew that I was Native, but I never really understood about it because I didn't grow up on a reservation or in like a community. And so I did go through periods of my life where I was ashamed, and I wanted so badly just to fit in, and confused about why I was the way I was, because I didn't want to be like that. I wanted to be like everybody else. But what got me through those particular times when it was really bad was learning to, I guess, build my own world around myself, which was, I did that through reading. My escape was reading. We didn't have computers or phones or apps back then. So I read a lot. And looking back on that, I'm so grateful, because now through those stories, I learned to be a storyteller. And now, moving on to making films and stuff like that, I would encourage anyone who's going through a period like that, like if there's bullying involved, because I know I was bullied. When you walk into school, just kind of like to consider it your own, that's like a world. And then when you come home, it's so important to have like a safe environment and a safe world there. And to do whatever you can to make that world safe for the individual or for yourself who's going through it. And I guess, the only thing I want to say is just to keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going, because it will get better. And it might take a long time to get better, but it does eventually get better. And it's such a good life skill if you can learn to take care of yourself, like to recognize, I don't feel good, I feel sad and depressed. Okay, what can I do to take care of that? Because I don't want to stay here. Like, it's okay to be there. It's okay to be in these feelings and to be sad and to be depressed. That's totally okay. But try not to stay there. You know, you don't want to be hooked into that, because I've definitely been there. Just to, what can you do to uplift yourself, or who can you call? How can you, you know, make it better? And then do that, whatever that is. The end for me.
What's your feedback, Josette?
I think that's a good place because I often stay at that rest stop of depression, and it's
Hi, Sunny.
come say hi to your aunties.
Hi, Sunny. Hyo-ho.
That's Auntie Avril. Oh no! I think you better shut it down. Oh, I guess another computer crashed.
Oh.
Anyways, that was my son's house. Your your nephews, and when I say you, I include you too, Jen, because you were with
Aw,
Savannah, so you know.
that's
But
sweet.
yeah, it's really hard if you don't know how to reach out for help, and help come in many different forms.
Mm-hmm.
And just in my experience, sometimes I have to live through the pain, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
Those emotions come out to let them be in the light, because if I keep suppressing them, it makes me I go to the dark side. I don't like to be there. I mean, it's fun for a while, don't get me wrong, but in order for me to keep my sobriety, I have to get out of that place, to climb out of that hole. And sometimes it takes the sometimes it takes everything out of me. I become very emotionally drained, and sometimes it happens to the point where I just need to take time off of devices and screens and just house sports and funerals to best access. Um, I really take the time to breathe in the air, look, pick up the soil and feel it, smell the earth, and just be around things that I don't get here. I can't experience the same thing. I can to a point, but it's not the same as being on someone. It is way different. Getting out of that, after I feel that depletion, I often have to rehydrate and
Mm-hmm.
drink be around my son or help or other things that affect to where it gets me out of that rabbit.
I didn't hear that last part.
I said it gets me out of the rabbit hole, and it
Yeah.
allows me to be myself and function in this world,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
education world is education world. My soon to be education world, and my soon to be business world as well. So I'm jumping on the Cordova train, and I am launching my online course as well with another company. So I'm hoping that with hard work and planting seeds and things of that nature, that I'm able to come out successful. I will come out successful, and eventually be able to pass this store onto my son. Hi.
Hi. Congratulations on your new business. Congratulations on, speaking out your truth and speaking on some information that can be hard for us to talk about. People, hi, Sunny. People a lot of the times take all of that stuff in and struggle with how to be better or how to get through what it is that you're getting through. So going back to like alcohol or, AA, the first thing is speaking it out, or identifying it or, knowing or having it speaking it out to the world. So it is definitely hard to ask for help or ask for support. In LA, we have a lot of different resources or services, something called 211 that you can just call on the phone. I don't know if that's the same there in your area, but there is a lot of great support if you do look for it and you do find it. I find it surprising that there isn't more natives in the Santa Fe area that a teacher or other students would identify as native. I mean, we all look different, just as you said. You have blonde hair, blue eyes. Your daughter has blonde hair, blue eyes. I have brown hair. I look Mexican. Jen, she doesn't look native, or what does a native look like? To
Yeah.
like a common person, another person. African Americans, they identify with each other because you can identify an individual. Asian, Pacifics, whatever, but this thing too is like, we're all human beings. We all have red blood, so being able to make small steps and first identifying who it is, maybe sitting down with him and doing a tree of who we are as a people, or looking at those, mom had our family tree done by, the Pine Ridge Oglala Sioux tribe. So talking to him about that and identifying that he is also seventh generation from Chief Red Cloud, he is that thing he is that generation that is going to make change. So being able to tell him how powerful he is and what a powerful family he comes from, powerful generation, is something like, wow, you can be like a ninja, like be all, but speaking to him in terms that he'll understand, instead of like this headdress, or explaining to him what that headdress means, if so when people do say that about him, he can feel more power, use that as a powerful tool, as opposed to feeling less than because he's different than them.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so that's what I have to say.
Button.
Jen, do you have anything to say?
No, I think we really covered a lot there, and the time has like flown by. I'm always surprised about that, because coming in, I'm always like, oh, what are we gonna do? Even though we already have a plan, but it just seems like crazy. And then here we are. It's already time, so it's so exciting.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Josette, for joining us. I appreciate you watching Twitch. You're like I know that you watch Twitch, and Twitch is amazing. I know we've had this conversation before, so if you haven't made the switch to Twitch, do it. There's an awesome music community. There's podcasts like mine. There's food, mukbangs. I love mukbangs. So if you don't know what that is, look it up. I'm not going to explain it to you. But thank you, Josette, for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you again. Give Taos a hug and a kiss for me, and we'll talk to you soon.
Oh, which reminds me, by the way, I'm going to be in your area, Avril, on the 22nd
of
May.
In Las Vegas?
Yeah, I'll be in Bullhead for a wedding that
okay.
Me and your nephew will be in.
Oh, okay.
And we'll probably go there. So maybe Sunday we can meet up.
Yeah, give us a call.
And okay. Jen, it was good to see you.
Yes, it was good to see you too.
I hope to not sure yet, but I'll set you up as well. So mahalo.
Aloha. Mahalo nui.
And have a great weekend. Be blessed.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
We'll see you. Awesome. So, Jen, it is 3:33, and it's a close to our event, and you look tired, but I know you're about to start your day. It's 12 o'clock there, right? And it's
yes.
Yeah, it's 3:30 here. So I just want to, before we go, make sure that we shout out individuals that are watching. Nancy says Halito, which is her tribal language. And Songtree also let us know that she got kicked out, but Ta'a, which means thank you so much for insightful discussion. So we will be doing this again in May. It's usually on a Saturday, and it's usually from, afternoon on, because me and Jen are not morning people, and we're proud of that. And our schedule isn't the normal schedule, but we will be coming to you in May. So check us out, and let us know some topic discussions if you have some. Put them in the comments, like, share. Also, I do want to also just do a plug. I'm sorry, let me just take this off. I am on the road to 100 subscribers for YouTube. So if you see my
AC and Associates.
Yeah, my AC and Associates tag right here. Check me out on YouTube. That's my business page. Please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll know when it is that we'll be coming on again. Thank you so much for checking in with us, for hanging out with us. Jen, do you have any final words?
Just I'm really glad that we were able to do this and that we're committed to it, and we're going to do it no matter what, even if it's just the two of us. So
yeah,
thankfully, you have some supporters, and I'm really always we have supporters, and I'm always feeling uplifted and like motivated after we have these conversations. So I'm grateful to you and to everyone that tuned in to hear us today. So yeah.
Yeah, and ta'a pilamayaye gracias atiahet to those individuals that took that plunge and clicked on that link, and joined us to share their conversations or share their mind. We appreciate you for stepping out of your comfort zone and coming on live to talk to this, to talk about these important discussion topics. Another thing, I know that when Josette was backstage, she had mentioned, I have a totally different vision of this question, which is totally fine. Like, we don't want you to agree with us. If everybody's different, so if you have something that not triggers you, but something that you want to say that doesn't necessarily meet up to what we're saying, bring it on, because that helps in discussion. Communication is a two-way street. It's not necessarily everything that I believe in. It is my show, but it is our show. So, but we do welcome the other side of, a topic discussion.
Totally. Yeah.
So with that being said, thank you all for...
I guess that's it. The end. All right. Thank you, everybody. Aloha. Have a great weekend.